Hi, I'm Damien, but you can call me Damo. Just please don't call me Carol. I really don't like it when people do that. In today's video, we're going to look at my investing strategy. I'm going to split the video into 3 broad categories that include long-term, short-term, and throw enough at a wall something will probably stick term. I don't like to mess about, as you know, so let's get it. I remember the first time I ever felt old. Like the exact second it happened. I was 25 years old, stood in the smoking area of Sankey's nightclub Manchester, RIP, trying to cool down from the writhing sweatbox that Carl Cox was creating on the main floor. Being the chatty sort that I am, I got talking to a group of people who I believed to be of a similar age to me. We chatted, we joked, no one called me Carol, everything was going great, until one question came up. So how old are you, mate? 25, I said without hesitation. Well, in the deluge of chatter that preceded that throwaway statement, I was able to catch 2 sentences. Shouldn't you be at home watching Coronation Street? I didn't know they allowed you to store Zimmer frames in the cloakroom. Now, while the words of intoxicated 18-year-olds don't have too much influence on my life day to day, that was the first time I'd ever felt that I was an old person. What I actually felt in that moment was the passing of time and how little control I had over it. And I suddenly realised that no matter how many 4 AM parties I went to, no matter how many times I rapped Good Kid Mad City word for word perfectly, I was going to get older. I needed a plan. Facts time. Pick any day between January 1971 and May 2020 and start investing. Invest for 1 day and you'll have had a 52.3% chance of making money, a flip of a coin. Invest for 3 months instead, a 65% chance of you coming out better off than you went in. A year, 71.83% of the years between that timeline were winners for investors. And if you'd have invested for 10 years, you'd have had around a 94% chance of coming out better off than you went in. Interestingly enough, anyone who invested for longer than 13 years over that period, all of them won. No one lost. So you could have picked any 13-year period across that 50-year stretch, and if you'd have invested for those 13 years, you would have made money. So long-term is good. Next fact. The table on screen shows the returns of someone who invests 100k for 25 years and achieves a 6% return. On the left, they pay no fee. On the right, a 2% fee. That grey slice is grim.
Try the grey stuff, it's delicious.
Pipe down, Candleman. No, it ain't. So there we have it. I want a low-cost, long-term investment that, like the passing of time, requires very little influence from me, but still keeps ticking on in the background regardless. I achieved this long-term strategy with 3 investment structures: a stocks and shares ISA, a lifetime ISA, and my work-based pension. And the financial goal here is to make sure that I have enough money in later life, because no matter how much we want to deny it, we're all going to get old one day. First of all, let's just touch on the work-based pension. This is the auto-enrolment scheme that anyone who works full-time will probably be a part of unless they opted out. Personally, I think it's mental to opt out because my company will double any money that I put in up to the tune of 4% of my income. Rather than thinking of it as a couple £100 a month that you can't spend, think of it as an instant doubling of your money. It's probably the best investment you can make because it's a guaranteed 100% return instantly. I will always max out the contributions that my employer will match, but I'll never go above that. I'll always invest that personally elsewhere. And when I talk about how much I invest on a month-to-month basis, say I invest £1,000, that doesn't include the contribution into my pension scheme at work. I just forget about that. A lot of you might be sat there thinking, why are you using 3 different long-term investment structures? Well, let me put it this way. A lot of people, when they think of retirement, think I'll save up a pot of cash and when I come to retire, that one pot of cash will then sustain me throughout retirement. I don't like to think of it like this. I want to know that I've got different pots of cash that mature at different points in my life that then can support me until the next pot of cash matures. For me, retirement isn't when I've got enough money to stop working completely. Retirement is when I can stop working, that one pot of cash will last me to the next one. So for example, my stocks and shares ISA, I can access that at any time. I invest through a stocks and shares ISA because any of the gains are tax-free. So I could have £1 billion in there by the time I retire, take it out and it's all tax-free. Amazing. You can't access a work-based pension until the age of 55. That's likely going to change to 57 very shortly. But I do it because they double the contribution. And then a lifetime ISA I can't touch until I'm 60. So I can lean on my company pension at the age of say 55, 57. That'll last me until the point that I'm 60 when the life ISA kicks in. So the lump sum of money that I retire with isn't the final amount. There's other things to come later on. I personally find that quite reassuring. I also like the lifetime ISA because similar to the pension scheme at work, it tops up by 25% from the government. So they give me a 25% bonus for any funds that I put in on a yearly basis. There is a maximum contribution allowance on the lifetime ISA, and I cover that in a video on ISAs that I'll link in the end cards for you. My goal is to eventually max out this allowance at some point. But at the minute, I don't really have enough money to invest to maximise the lifetime ISA allowance and still invest as much as I'd like to elsewhere. So for now, I just put a couple of £100 a month into it. I hold my lifetime ISA with Hargreaves Lansdowne, and within that, I invest in the FTSE 100, the FTSE 250, an S&P 500 and an emerging markets fund. But really, it doesn't matter too much what funds you're putting in there, as long as they're low cost and long-term investments. For my stocks and shares ISA, which is with Vanguard at the minute, I use a Life Strategy 100 fund, as some of you will know from my other videos. Again, it doesn't matter too much as long as the funds are low cost, diversified, and that you invest in them for a long period of time. This long-term money makes up around 70% of the monthly investment that I make, around £700 a month. And this long-term proportion of my investment pie is my ride or die, always stay committed, never gonna leave her even if she comes home at 6 in the morning smelling of another man's aftershave kind of money. What I'm saying is I'm committed to this investment for the long run. This allocation of funds is getting invested in the same style of investment long term, regardless of what's going on in the world. Ups or downs, booms or busts, every payday I invest in this exact same manner. I might switch providers or the specific funds I invest in year on year, but all I care about is that the funds are low cost and I can invest in them long term. So that's why I use index funds and ETFs to achieve this. It's safe, predictable, and pretty much statistically certain that I will do well in the long run. All you have to do is invest your money and ride the roller coaster to the end. And for all of you sat there wondering what kind of returns I would be expecting from this style of investing, I'm hoping to achieve about a 9% year-on-year average return. And that by the time I retire, I'd be looking to have in the region of £1 million sat in these index funds. £1 million. But the problem with this style of investing is, it's pretty boring. So the Sankey's raver in me needs a little excitement in his life still. So this is what I do with short term. When you think of short term investing, it can often conjure up images like this.
We are gonna make so much money.
As we saw before, short term can turn a sensible habit into more of a gamble. Coin toss versus statistical certainty. But first of all, let's categorise what we mean by short term. For me, the short term is anything that I'll be keeping an active interest on and looking at the price from day to day, with the view of selling at some point. That could be tomorrow, or it could be in a couple of years. It's just shorter than long term. I never used to engage in this style of investing, but the introduction of apps in the UK like Freetrade and Trading 212, link in the description if you want a free share, have made it possible for investors like us to engage in short-term investing without risking our whole financial lives, because they remove the fees, and those fees were a huge barrier to investors prior to this. There's only ever really one set of circumstances in which I'm going to invest in a business in the short term, and that's if something bad happens. Basically an event that changes public perception of the business in the short term but doesn't affect the long-term outlook or performance of that business. Quote time. Benjamin Graham said, "Individuals who cannot master their emotions are ill-suited to profit from the investment process." And Warren Buffett said, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful." The price of shares in a business in the short term is influenced heavily by what people think about that business. And negative media coverage of that business can affect that perception massively and quickly. Even if the business underneath is all good, it takes a little while for the markets to recover and calm down and think, actually, we've overreacted here. Ever had an argument in the heat of the moment and said something pretty bad that you didn't mean? "My name's not Carol, I hate you." And then later on you calm down and think, well, maybe I overreacted a little bit. This is exactly what the markets do when they see bad news. This is exactly what happened recently. When everything got a bit crazy, everything got sold. And I mean everything. People panicked, and even Coca-Cola and Google dropped in price. The same happened with Boohoo recently. When the news broke that one of their suppliers was effectively a sweatshop, the share price collapsed. In that example, one supplier in Leicester underpaying staff doesn't change the fundamental desire that people have to buy cheap, fashionable clothing en masse. Boohoo.com. In order to take advantage of these types of short-term opportunities, you need to be prepared. You don't exactly get a lot of warning that it's going to happen. So every month, about 10% of the total that I invest, £100, I put to one side so that I've got a pot of cash that I can pounce on short-term investments. If that pot of cash ever gets too big, I move some over to my long-term investment strategy. I don't want to be sat on thousands of pounds waiting for something to happen because inflation's going to decrease the value of that pot. But in all honesty, the way things have been in 2020, there's been loads of opportunity for these short-term investments. I just want to be clear at this point that this type of investment strategy is a lot riskier than the long-term stuff I'm talking about. There's a reason that 70 to 80% of everything I invest goes into the long-term pot and only a small proportion of it goes into the short-term. Because I'm prepared to lose all of that money essentially. The benefit is that with short-term investing, the gains can be amazing, but it's all about patience, waiting for the right opportunity. There needs to be at least a 20 to 30% drop in the value of that share for me to even consider it a short-term opportunity. There are a few examples though where share prices drop quick and I'm still not going to touch it. The main ones being fraud and bad management. So you could use the examples of Tesco's accountancy scandal, or more recently what's gone on with Wirecard. The discovery of fraud or poor management tactics leads to drops in share price, but normally that's just the tip of the iceberg, and that fraud is a sign of some really bad stuff going on in that business. Personally, I wouldn't touch a business where fraud or poor management is the scandal, because you don't know how deep the rot goes. The other type of short-term investment that I don't get involved in is chasing hype. Remember Warren said, "Be fearful when others are greedy." Just because a share price is rocketing doesn't mean that I'll get involved. A perfect example of that at the minute is Tesla. There's so much hype around Tesla and so many people are piling in. So many people are being greedy that I am fearful of that stock. Not chasing the hype can be painful. I've sat on the side saying that I'm not going to invest in Tesla and seeing it rise to new heights every single week in, week out for months. But you could almost guarantee that the one moment that I do invest, that's when the price tanks. And that's just life. I stick to my investment principles and I won't chase hype. The final time horizon is to throw enough at a wall and something will stick to it. Someone very successful once said to me that throughout your life, opportunities will be put in front of you. And it's up to you whether you grab those opportunities or not. Just don't moan in years to come if you didn't grab the opportunity. That's on you. I am inherently a risk taker. And this money, which is the smallest proportion of what I invest, is for obscure, risky investments that may just change everything. Like investing in cryptocurrency or startup capital for a side hustle, like this blue screen behind me. That was an investment. Probably not a very good one, but it was an investment. Having a budget for investment in myself and my ideas allows me to experiment, to take a chance to try and create things. If 100% of my spare cash goes into index funds, then those opportunities in life may just pass me by. Successful people are not successful because they're smarter than you. They're successful because they tried. Ultimately, you are the longest term investment in your life. Develop new skills, try new things. The reason I have this money set aside is because I want to be clear to myself that this is still an investment. That it's okay to throw stuff at a wall and hope that something sticks. And while it might not be as sensible as investing in index funds for the long run, if something does stick one day, it's going to change things and it's going to change them fast. Imagine if a couple of months ago I didn't have the budget to start my YouTube channel, but instead I had that budget of money set aside, and now I'm sat in my spare bedroom with a microphone on, a blue screen, cheeky little blue light behind me and another light here. A few £100 worth of investment and I'm sat here with 1,000 subscribers after 3 months. Go throw some stuff at walls. You owe it to yourself. Now, while this video isn't hard facts or step-by-step instructions on how to do something, I hope you still found it useful, and I hope you see the value in sitting down and segmenting and prioritising certain types of investment. Have your long-term pot, have your short-term pot, and most importantly, have an allocation of funds there for you to invest in yourself in whatever crazy ideas that you have and want to do. Thank you so much for your time. I'll see you later.
Carol, dinner's ready.
My name's not Carol. And why is the floor wet?